Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Brindleton Bay, which is the world that we got with the expansion pack The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs, and I'm going to be building a Brindleton Bay family farm. So ever since the release of the Sims 4 Cottage Living expansion pack, which came out around about 2 weeks ago, I have just known that at one point I wanted to sit down and build a huge family farm in the world of Brindleton Bay, because there is not just farms in Henford and Bagley, there is going to be farms in multiple different worlds in my save file, because there is farms all around the world and I just kind of want to represent that for the different worlds. I'm not just going to have farms in Henford and Bagley, I'm going to have them all over the place, and I really wanted to sit down and start with Brindleton Bay. It is just the most perfect world to build a farm in, because if you was to actually look straight on at the house and then look to the right hand side, there's actually farmlands in the surrounding areas, so you'll be able to see tractors moving about, you'll be able to see this big kind of like crop field, there's fake cows, really badly fake cows because they're literally cardboard cutouts if you zoom in into them, but there's also hay bales, and it's just the perfect place to have a farm. I tried to include pretty much everything that you would want if your sim was to live on a farm within this lot. So to get started, we have 2 of the animal sheds, so you could either have 2 cows or 2 llamas or 1 of each. We also have 2 chicken coops which can keep up to 8 chickens each, but don't make the mistake that I did and fill both chicken coops up with 8 chickens each, because then you're going to have 16 chickens and it is a lot. Like, I tweeted about this a few weeks ago, but Sims 4 Cottage Living, the actual gameplay, it is hard. Like, my Sims are barely caring for themselves. All they're doing is just caring for the llamas and the cows and mainly the chickens. The chickens seem to be the ones that are a problem, but it's got all of the stuff that you would need for multiple animals. There is also a massive crop field, so your Sims can grow all different kinds of pumpkins and aubergines and watermelons and mushrooms. I can't remember the other different oversized crops that you can grow. Off memory, I believe there's 6 different types of oversized crops, and so I basically did the crop field in 3 lines of 6, so maybe you wanted to have 3 sets of watermelon growing, 3 sets of pumpkin, and so on and so forth, just because when I was playing in my own personal gameplay, that was something that I was doing and I found it quite easy. It also just helps kind of keeping it organised, because say if you wanted to enter one of your oversized crops into the Finchwick Fair maybe at the weekend, say if you've got 3 different sets and they're kind of all in front of each other, you can kind of see which set is going to do the best and which set to kind of harvest and to enter into the competition. I just thought it was a much easier way of growing crops, and so that's why I decided to lay out the crop field how I did. But obviously if you didn't want to grow oversized crops and you wanted to have flowers or herbs or different fruits and vegetables, you can definitely do that. But as well as that, in this house there is also an animal hospital or like a vet clinic. I'm honestly not too sure what to kind of class it as officially, but basically I wanted there to be somewhere, say if one of the animals came sick, maybe the cow's got a poorly tummy, or maybe the chicken's got a headache. I don't actually think chickens can get headaches, I don't know. But say for instance, one of the animals became poorly and they needed to be seen by, a professional. I had the idea in my head that one of the Sims, that one of the parents that's going to actually be living here for my save file used to actually be a vet, and so they've got all that knowledge, and instead of actually taking the animals off lot, they could just take them from their little kind of like area where they're kept and just take them into the barn and treat for them then and there without actually taking them elsewhere, if that makes any sense. It's also really good if you want to play with dogs or cats in the game, because quite often dogs and cats become really sick and you've actually got to take them to the vet clinic and you have to go through loading screens, and to save that, your Sims, if they've got the knowledge of the vet skill, they can just treat them in the barn and get them up to good health. There is everything that you would need for an actual vet clinic in that barn as well. I even put in the little station where your Sims would actually sign in if they actually did go to the vets. Now, I don't think it was going to be usable unless you actually have a mod, which I'm not sure if a mod is actually available for this, but I know there is a mod for living businesses, where if you have maybe like a retail shop or something and you wanted your Sim to also live on the same lot, that is doable. I'm not sure if you can do it for vet clinics. I've never tried. Maybe I might have a look into that after I finish this voiceover, but if you wanted to, you could just list this house to be an actual vet clinic instead of a residential, and then just get your Sims to never leave, or you could run it that way. But I just wanted there to be somewhere where if any of the animals were sick, you could just pop them into the barn and, mend them back up to good health. To be honest with you, I feel like it's quite a useful thing to have in a house where you've got cats and dogs, because I don't know if it's just my game, but whenever my household has any kind of cats or dogs, they always just need to go to the vet clinic, and I can't be bothered to go through the loading screens and, you know, or go all the way there and then sign in and have your Sims wait for ages, and they actually have to pay, I think it's 750 simoleons for the expensive treatment, or 150 simoleons for the basic treatment, which is basically when they put a cone on your pet's head. It's just a lot easier. I mean, I pretty much, whenever I have cats or dogs, I always have the vet table in the lot somewhere, just because I can't be bothered with the loading screens. But obviously, if you didn't want to actually have it to be like a little miniature vet surgery or like an animal hospital, you could definitely change that barn into be pretty much whatever you wanted to. If you wanted to have like a little miniature house in the back garden, you could do that. You can make it so it's got a kitchen and a bathroom and everything that goes into, you can make it into a tiny home if you really wanted to, or you can make it into maybe like a club hangout or something. Maybe if your sim is an artist or like a freelancer and you wanted to make it into an art studio, I feel like that would be a really good idea, and it's a really nice big open space. Honestly, you can do whatever you want with it. If you do decide to download this house off a gallery, thinking about it, you can actually make it into like a nice little granny's house if you wanted to. You can actually make it so this house is kind of like full of the different generations, and you could have some grandparents living in this barn. But actually thinking about it, it's a bit rude if you actually have your grandparents living in the old barn in the front garden. But you know, if that's how you like to play the game, that's how you like to play the game. But anyway, moving on from that and actually getting back to the storyline for the household that are going to be living in this house for my save file. So the household consists of 2 parents, 1 teenager, 1 child and 1 toddler. And then I imagine them to have 2 really big dogs. I was more so imagining like a border collie and a German shepherd, that kind of idea. Obviously, if you wanted to download this house, if you wanted to, you don't have to have dogs. You could have cats. There is no litter box. Actually, no, there is a litter box. I say that there is a litter box. It's in the vet clinic, because I had the idea in my head that one of the parents maybe occasionally cares for their neighbours and their friends' dogs and cats, and maybe they'll just give them like the general checkup and make sure they're all okay. I did actually put a litter box in their little mini animal surgery vet hospital thing. I don't know what to class it as, so I'm kind of calling it all these different names, but there is actually a litter box in the barn. But if you wanted to and you wanted to actually have a cat living in the actual house, I would definitely recommend actually putting a litter box in the actual house itself. But as well as that, I imagine one of the other parents to maybe previously be in a really boring office job that they really just did not like. I was kind of had it in my mind that they always wanted to be a farmer, and maybe they took out a loan from the Sim City Bank. Now, there is actually a mod, by the way, called the Sim City Bank Loan. I think is the official name for it. If you just search up Sims 4 Sim City Bank Loan, it should come up. It is a mod that I use all the time in my own personal gameplay, and it's so good for storytelling, because say if you wanted to have a family and you wanted them to actually have a nice house, but you also wanted to kind of have them to earn all their money, it's a really good mod if you wanted to kind of do that, because you can actually take a loan from the bank and then your Sims would actually pay it off in kind of like different payments, and you can select how many different payments that you want them to do. And I'm pretty sure if they actually miss a loan payment, then you actually have more money, like interest added on. Can't remember exactly, but my Sims are good. They always pay their loans on times. But I imagine that this family actually took a loan from the Sim City Bank, and then, you know, they went and bought this family farm in Brindleton Bay, and they're just living out their best life. This is something that the family have always wanted to do, and since they've got this loan from the bank, they can now do it. Now, I did also imagine that the teenager in this household would actually be someone that really wants to go travelling eventually. So I tried to decorate their bedroom to kind of reflect that. I imagine that they're a sim that once they finish high school, they just want to get out of Brindleton Bay, they want to go to Selva Dorada, or they want to go to, I don't know, Sulani or something like that. They want to explore all the different worlds and just, you know, go and live their best life travelling. And there is also a child and a toddler. I don't really have a concrete idea for them. I say this all the time. Children and toddlers are so hard to give a storyline for, and so they are just there. I don't know what the storyline is going to be. Maybe I'll expand on it at a later date, but that's just kind of like the idea that I have for the family. It's going to be living in my save file. I wanted to speak about something because on, I don't even know what day it was, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it weren't yesterday, I know that for sure, but in one of the days this week there was actually a Maxis live stream, and they actually spoke about updating all the different Sims from Willow Creek all the way to Henford and Bagley, and they want to add more lore into the game as well as visually changing the Sims as well, which I'm really intrigued by. I really want to know more information about how this is actually going to work, because one of the massive issues with The Sims 4 is a lot of the original Sims that would be in previous generations of the game, like The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, they've been whitewashed, like they're not the correct skin tone colour, they're missing features that they previously had. You know, there's a lot of missing details in The Sims 4 than there was in The Sims 3 and The Sims 2. And now for my save file, I've been going around giving them the correct skin tones, giving them the correct features that them Sims should have, and you know what they previously had, adding in the family trees and whatnot. One thing that actually made me want to start my save file the most was probably the family tree thing, because I used to love going through The Sims 2 and The Sims 3 and just scrolling through the family trees and seeing whose cousin is who and who's aunt and who's uncle and who's brother, and I loved doing that kind of thing. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I remember when I first loaded into The Sims 4, once I first got it at this was like 7 years ago we're talking about, but I remember going into the family trees and being just so disappointed. I used to love just going and scrolling through, and you can't do that in The Sims 4. So that was one of my main focuses for my save file, and that's why I really wanted to start one. And now they're going to be adding lore. I hope that's got something to do with the family trees, but I'm also wondering how it's going to work with existing save files. Like, will this update only be for save files that were maybe created after the patch, or would it also translate to pre-existing save files? I'm just really curious, and I really want to know some more information about it. I don't know when we're actually going to find out more. Maybe they actually spoke about it in another live stream, because I think there's a couple of live streams going on at the minute. I've only watched the first one, you know, when they actually spoke about it, and they spoke about all these different things that are coming into the game and things happening about the game. But yeah, I just want to find out some more information. I'm really excited about it though. I'm really excited to see some visual updates as well as, you know, lore in The Sims 4, because it doesn't really have any, if we're being honest. But anyway, getting back to the build, as you can see, I'm just going around and I'm just doing a load of different landscaping. Now, I did actually cut out a portion of the back garden landscaping just because I felt like it was getting a little bit repetitive, but you will see me do like little flower beds here and there of different kind of bushes and flowers, and you know, doing some terrain paint under them, as you can see what I'm doing right now. But I'm also just going in and actually adding a little table area for your Sims to actually sit out and, you know, have a barbecue in the summertime, maybe eat their dinner or something. Something that I wanted to speak about actually, which is a really good little hack, which I've actually found out myself recently. If you ever want to move objects, some kind of, you know, whatever, onto a table, and it's one of the tables I've actually got an umbrella through the middle, what I've been doing is I've actually been putting an upstanding lamp. Is that what they're called? A tall lamp that stands on its own, put it that way. I've been putting like an upstanding lamp in the middle of where the umbrella would be, and then I actually move away the table, and then I can actually see where the pole is, because previously I never used to do this. I used to just kind of guess where the pole is, but then this way I can actually see where the pole for the umbrella would be, and then I can actually place the object exactly where I want. I just thought I'd mention it just in case you were curious why I just put a massive lamp in the middle of the umbrella. I do delete it. It was just so I can get a rough estimate of where the umbrella pole would be. But as well as that, in this back garden we also have a little washing hanging line thing where your Sims do their laundry and they want to hang it out to dry it, maybe save a few simoleons on their energy bill. I'm not gonna lie though, whenever I actually get my Sims to do their washing and they actually hang it out on that washing line, 9 times out of 10 it dries and then it ends up raining, and so it ends up in my gameplay being actually useless because I'm just so forgetful. But hopefully you're not as forgetful as me and you actually remember to get your Sims to take their washing off the wash line. But this house does have laundry. There is also a utility room inside, so there is a washing machine and a tumble dryer, just in case you are like me and you do forget and you actually have to end up putting them clothes in the tumble dryer. But as you can see, I'm just going around by this little like barn area thing and doing some more landscaping because I felt like this area was a little bit bare. And something that I tried to do here is I was trying to connect it so it looked like it was a singular pathway leading from the gate to kind of like this little area that's got a load of terrain paint. Originally I was going to do this one singular path, and then I added to it, and then I added to it a little bit more. It ends up, I covered this whole entire grass area with this terrain paint. I didn't know how to do it so it would look natural, and there is still loads of different areas. If you wanted to maybe have some grass and you wanted to delete the terrain paint, you can obviously do that, but it just felt a little bit weird having this path with loads of different like empty grass around it, and I was quite confused on what to do with this area, if I'm being honest with you. I didn't know what I wanted to do because it was quite a big space. I actually ended up putting in the well that we actually got from the Cottage Living debug, which, by the way, if you've seen me, I don't know if I've actually done it so far in this video, you might see it in a minute though, but if you've seen me recently in my videos pull out different rooms from my saved rooms, and they've got all this different like debug menu items in them, I have actually previously uploaded them onto the gallery. So if you want to play with some debug menu items in your game, as you can see, I've literally just pulled one out. If you wanted to and you wanted to use these different objects in your game, and maybe you don't access the debug menu, or maybe you find it difficult if you're on console, whatever, I have actually uploaded them onto the gallery. So if you're curious and you want to download them, I've uploaded I think 4 rooms in total, but they're massive rooms. I merged some of the rooms together. Off memory, I believe I uploaded one room which was just solely landscaping. So you know, all the different plants and bushes and, you know, all the little pretty flowers that we got from the Cottage Living debug, they were actually in that room just solely like landscaping. And then there's some others that have got kind of like the tractor in it. Some of them have got kind of like these, I don't know what they're called, like they look like a sack of potatoes. I've actually placed one down on the other side of this little kind of animal shed area. There's, I think, hay in some of them. There's basically all the stuff that I could find in debug that would look like it belonged in a farm on these rooms, and they're in the gallery. So if you are curious and you want to download them, then they're available for you to download. I'm thinking I might actually upload some more like debug and live edit menu items to the gallery, because I do actually have quite a few different rooms. Because before I actually have the mod that I'm using, which is the Better Build Buy mod, I speak about it all the time, but before I actually had this mod, I used to always just get all of my debug and my live edit menu items from my saved rooms. But now where I have this mod and I can just access the debug menu and the live edit menu really easily, I don't tend to use them. But I feel like if you're someone that doesn't play with mods, or maybe if you're on console and you want to use them, they might be useful to some people. So let me know if you want me to upload them, and I will upload them. But anyway, as you can see, I actually just put a load of grass down in this kind of animal shed area, because the thing is, it's actually really difficult to landscape it. I want there to be a big open space so your animals don't have any problems, you know, like getting about, and maybe if they wanted to trot over to by the fence gate thing, or maybe if they just want to have a walkabout, I didn't want there to be any problems with that. But it also makes it difficult because it also makes it look a little bit boring. And so what I actually ended up doing is I actually found this grass from the live edit menu, and I basically shrunk it down as small as I could do it, and basically just put it all over this kind of grassy area where the animal sheds are. So that way when you actually zoom in, there's these little tiny bits of grass like poking up, and it looks like the grass that the llama and the cow have possibly missed when, you know, they're eating grass. I just thought I'd mention it. It's just a nice little detail into that little animal shed area. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now finally moved on to the inside of this house, and I've started off like always by furnishing the kitchen. Now this house is deceivingly big. Like, it does not look big whatsoever from the outside. I mean, I don't think so anyway. But when you actually come inside this house, you actually realise how big it is. Like, this kitchen, it's huge. Look how big it is. It's got 2 sinks, it's got a microwave, tea station, coffee station. It's also got an oven, a fridge. It's also got loads of different counter space as well, so if you're someone that wants to maybe get your Sims to cook together as a family, that shouldn't be a problem in this kitchen because there is plenty of counter space. But as you can see, I just went through it, the debug menu and just the general kind of decorations menu, and just pulled out all these different kind of clutter items that I wanted to try and include into this kitchen. I included some of the country kitchen kit. I actually placed down 2 of these little tins. I think I did one in blue and one in pink, and I sized one down. I imagine it was like tea and sugar, and then the little coffee sachet thing behind the coffee machine was the coffee granules, because I feel like every house has, you know, your tea, coffee and sugar station. That's what I try to do in this kitchen. But as well as that, there is just so many different decorations in this kitchen. There is books, there is, you know, like little places to put utensils, there is casserole dishes, or like pottery that looks like maybe they just cooked a stew last night and it was kind of left over on the counter. There is notes, there is just literally all sorts. Pretty much I just went into the debug menu and the decorations menu and tried to pull out everything that I could that would actually fit into this kitchen. But moving on, I've now started furnishing the utility room, or the laundry room. I always call it laundry rooms in my videos, but it's actually, to me, I call it a utility room. I don't know if anyone else calls it that. It's like, I call a hallway normally a landing. I think some people do as it depends where you live in the world. We all have different names for different things. It's like with Cottage Living, we got the introduction of aubergines in the game, but a lot of people know them as eggplants. Like, why did they change the name of so many different things in the world? It's just confusing. But either way, it's somewhere where your Sims can do their washing. There is also a little shelving unit in there, which is from Eco Lifestyle. I really like using that in utility rooms because it's kind of got extra blankets and pillows, and it looks like maybe when someone comes around to stay, they can, you know, take a little pillow out from there, maybe take a blanket, maybe it's where they put their towels once they've washed them, something like that. But there is also a little small bathroom off the utility room, which has just got a toilet and a sink in, and then I do actually end up adding a little toddler potty in there as well, because if your toddler's downstairs and they need a wee and they haven't got much movement skills, it's just going to take them a while to get upstairs to use the toilet. So there is a little toddler potty down there as well. But now moving on into the dining room, I love the way this dining room came together. I just feel like it looks so warm and welcoming, and I can just imagine this little Sims family sitting down every Sunday and having their roast dinner together. It's just really sweet. I love the way that the light comes in through the windows and kind of shines on the floor, and it just looks really nice, and it just looks really homely in here. I just really like it. There is also a high chair which I placed behind the table. It's not actually on the table because I was thinking maybe if your Sims invited some Sims over for dinner or something, maybe they wanted to sit down at the table and not necessarily elsewhere in the house. And so if you wanted to, though, obviously you could just delete the chair or one of the chairs at the actual table and replace it with a high chair. But if we're being honest, does anyone's toddlers actually stay in the high chair when they're playing the game? I always have it so one parent will put the toddler in the high chair and then the other parent will literally just come out of nowhere and take the toddler out. So what are you doing? But regardless, there is a high chair if your Sims actually do want to use it properly. But now I have actually moved on into the hallway area. So this is kind of like the entrance hallway when your Sims are walking through the front door. Like always, got like a little side table. Your Sims can pop down their post and their packages, maybe chuck their keys down as well. It's also somewhere where they can hang their hat and coat and scarf up and take an umbrella out, and also change the temperature of the house, because I always put the temperature thing, I can't even think what it's called, but you know what you change the temperature of your house at? I always put it right by the front door because I feel like that's the easiest place for it to go in a house. But now I have actually moved on into the room, which, if I'm being honest, I didn't even know what this room was going to be when I started decorating it. I had no idea. This room was just so big and it had so much space, and I was thinking of all these different things I can make it into, and so I kind of made it into a multi-use room. It's like an activity room. So in here we have some bookcases, we also have the chess table, we also have the globe in the corner, which is from vintage Glamour Stuff. It's a decorational piece, but your Sims can actually get some drinks from it as well. Not the full black bar, like your Sims can't pull out all these different like types of drinks. I think there's only 4 different types, but regardless, it's still somewhere. Maybe your Sims had a hard day caring after the llamas and the cows and the chickens, because it is really hard in The Sims 4, and maybe they just want to pop inside and have a drink. But as well, in that room there is a grand piano, and then kind of like a little reading nook area as well, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, having a piano in the same room as a bookcase where you want to read is probably not the best idea. Just make sure you haven't got a Sim sitting down playing the piano, because that might be a bit hard to read. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the lounge room. In here I used the new 3-seater sofa, the new armchairs, the new side table, and one of the new fireplaces that we actually got from the Cottage Living expansion pack. And something that I did which I really like, and I want to try and do this in more builds, is you can see on the side of the fireplace I actually put down this little Jungle Adventure stool, which I use in pretty much every single one of my builds, but I never actually use it as what it's meant to be, like a seating area. I always use it as kind of like a nice little table to place things on. But what I actually did is I actually went through debug and I actually found these kind of like logs of wood, and I actually moved objects them onto the stool, so it looks like this is the wood that's going to be burnt next time the fire is on. It's just a small little detail, and I just really liked it, so I'm definitely going to be using that in a few more of my builds in the future. But also in this room there is a little family computer desk area. Both the teenager and the child actually have laptops in their room, but I still wanted there to be somewhere where the parents could go on the computer. Maybe it's like the family computer, maybe the kid hasn't got internet on the laptop, and maybe it was just like games or something. Maybe it's The Sims on their laptop and there's no internet, and if they want to use the internet they have to come down here. But also in this room I actually wanted it to be somewhere where the kids can actually play, because I didn't want it just to be restricted to their bedrooms. I wanted this house to be like a really family kind of orientated house where there's a lot of different family gameplay activities. And so I actually placed down one of the doll houses into the lounge room, as well as one of the cuddly teddy toys, and then just kind of placed down one of these Parenthood kind of like toy boxes. It's not a usable toy box, but it's got all these different decorational pieces that makes it look like the kids have been through it and, you know, pulled out all these different things to play with all these different toys, and yeah, I just really like it. But now I've actually moved on into kind of like this little awkward hallway area. It's basically the hallway that actually has the doors leading out to the back garden. So in here is like a little side table. There is also somewhere where the dog leads are hung. I actually use a shelving unit which we got from Cats and Dogs. It's kind of got this decoration of like dog leads on it. I also use another shelf which we got from Cottage Living, and it's kind of got like a little watering can on it. It's just really sweet. But now I have actually moved on to the upstairs portion of this house, and I've started off by furnishing one of the bathrooms. As always, I don't show the furnishing for the other bathrooms. It will just be so repetitive just watching me put down a sink, a toilet, a shower. It would just be too repetitive, and I never show the furnishing of all of them. I just showed normally the furnishing of one. But today you've got 1.5 because I did actually show you the furnishing for the downstairs toilet or downstairs bathroom. This is another thing as well. We're talking about different ways that people say things. Sometimes I refer to a bathroom as the toilet, like where's the toilet? And I remember actually once I was in Canada and I was in the airport and I asked someone that worked there where the toilet was, and I've never seen such a confused face. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've now moved on into the toddler's room. So in here, I actually use a base game bed, which is a bed that I never seem to use anymore for like toddler's rooms. I normally seem to go for the eco lifestyle one, but I really like this one and it matched so nicely with this wallpaper. In here, we just have like a little armchair next to the toddler bed. I was thinking one of the parents reads the toddler of a nighttime, like a bedtime story. There is also another doll's house, another teddy, a toy box, and then some like toys on the floor. And there is also a bookcase as well. And I'm just going to go around the room and kind of finish it up with some posters and some kind of like framed prints on the wall. And now I've actually moved on into the teenager's room. So like I've mentioned, I imagine this teenager to be someone that really wants to travel once they finish secondary school or high school. I imagine that once they finish, they're just kind of gone. You know, their suitcases are already packed. I purposely used the side table, which is from Parenthood. And you can see it's kind of like these little suitcases. Maybe they're their packed suitcases for when they're actually finished with school. They're just going to go. They're going to go travel all the different worlds. They're going to go to Sulani. They're going to go to Selva Dorada. Maybe they're going to accidentally discover Forgotten Hollow. And that might be quite a good storyline. But I imagine this seemed to be quite bohemian as well. And so I tried to replicate that kind of idea into the furniture. And so I use a lot of stuff from the Paranormal Stuff pack. The curtains, the desk, the chair, and also that little hand kind of sculpture thing is also from that stuff pack as well. But in this room, I also did actually add a little art easel because maybe this sim really enjoys art, or maybe actually, I've just had an idea that popped into my head. Maybe when the parents of this household pass away, maybe this house is actually left to this teenager and they actually turn the barn into an art studio. It'll be like full circle because I mentioned it at the start. But either way, I imagine this sim was really into art, and so I put an art easel into this room. But now I've actually moved on into the child's bedroom. So in here, I went for the Seasons bed, and then the bedside table is from Parenthood. And then I didn't really have a personality for this sim. Like, it's really hard to actually give children and toddlers, like I previously mentioned, an actual personality. I feel like I've used the Kid in Scouts after school activity idea so many times. I literally used it in my last B build, and it's a great idea, but I just find it really hard in the game to give them actual personalities. I would really like some more after school activities. I'd like some like maybe a school's newspaper, and then you could have a kid that's really proactive in taking pictures of all the students, and maybe a cheerleading one, or maybe all these different sport ones as well. That I just would love some more depth into children. I just really am holding out for The Sims 4 Generations. Don't worry, I'm not putting Cottage Living aside because it is my favourite expansion pack and I love it very, very much. But I feel like if we was to get Generations in The Sims 4, it would feel really complete to me. Like, it would actually feel like a properly completed game, because there are so many things that we were missing in The Sims 4 that we previously had in like The Sims 3 Generations. And like prom, I miss prom so much in The Sims. I used to love it in The Sims 3, even though you didn't actually go, it was a rabbit hole. I liked the idea of it. But anyway, finishing off this room now, I just added in a rug which I believe is from Laundry Day. It's quite similar to the rug that I actually placed down in the teenager's room, but the one that I placed down in there I believe was from Dream Home Decorator. But now moving on into the parents' bedroom. So in here I decided to go for the Cats and Dogs bed, which is a bed which I feel like I haven't used in a really long time, and it's such a good mesh of a bed. Like, it's a really good bed. I know that sounds really strange, but when you look at some of the base game beds that we have in the game and then you compare it to some of the beds that we get in expansion packs, you can honestly just see the difference in the meshes. But I really like this bed and I just haven't used it in a really long time. I decided to use it in this bedroom. In this bedroom, it's quite blue. I went for like a blue and white kind of theme. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did actually find it quite hard to know what to decorate this room with because it was so big, like abnormally big for me anyway, for a parent's bedroom. There is a fireplace in here though, because there was actually a chimney on the outside, and I want it to be realistic. You know, if there's going to be a chimney on the outside, realistically there's going to be a fireplace on the inside. A lot of the time though, people do get their fireplaces taken out, granted, but I just thought might as well just make use of the space, and so I added in a fireplace which is from Parenthood, and then as well in this bedroom it ended up having a bookcase which is from Cats and Dogs. The chest of drawers is also from Cats and Dogs, and you know, I just cluttered it up with loads of different books and folded shirts and all these different things that kind of make it look a little bit more realistic and just make it look a little bit more lived in. But now moving on, I've now started furnishing the barn, vet, clinic, animal hospital thing. I still don't know what to officially class as. Basically somewhere where if your animals are poorly, you can come in here and you can mend them up to good health. Realistically, it's only going to be cats and dogs that you can actually use in this room, but it's still realistic. You know, this household has 2 dogs. If they're ever sick, you don't have to bother going through loading screens. You can just pop into the front garden, and you know, if your Sims actually got the skill of being a vet, then they can just amend them back. But in here, as you can see, I tried to actually do it so it's like a miniature little clinic. So we've kind of got this little waiting room, and then out the back we've kind of got I don't even know what it is, but it's like this massive operation thing. And then we've also got the table where your Sims, dogs or cats will actually sit on. And then there is also another room out the back which has kind of got the chemistry lab thing where your Sims can, I think, experiment so they get their skill up, and also craft different treats like animal treats or like vet treats, because animal treats is actually something that we've got with Cottage Living. But besides the point, as you can see in this little waiting room, there is what you would normally find in any waiting room. There is a little sofa area. There is also something where your Sims can sign in. Now I don't think your Sims can actually use it, but I just wanted to put it there just kind of like for the idea, or maybe it was something that used to be in the vet clinic that one of the parents used to work at and they just happened to bring it over. Maybe it's got loads of data on it with all the different animals. I just felt like, as I already made like a little waiting area as if it was a small little vet clinic, I might as well just add it in. Or maybe if you did actually want to run this as an actual vet clinic and you wanted to change the residential to vet clinic and just get your Sims to never leave, because that is an option, then you know, your Sims actually have somewhere where their customers can actually sign in. I just thought I'd add it. But anyway, now as you can see, I've actually just started furnishing this little backroom area. So it's got this operation table, and it's also got the table where cats and dogs will actually go onto when, you know, they need to be looked at. And then behind it, I actually used some counters which are from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and then just cluttered it up with loads of different kind of vet looking items. So we have some treats, we have some like little medical dishes, we also have just general just kind of bits and bobs that you would normally find in like a vet surgery. I also wanted to kind of divide the room as well, because I felt like the room would look really weird if there wasn't kind of like a divide. So I literally put a divider in the middle of it, and now I've actually just started furnishing this little back room area. In here we just got like some counters with a little sink area. Your Sims can wash their hands, and they've also got that little chemistry lab thing so they can actually go in there and make some animal treats or vet treats and also just experiment. But anyway guys, I have actually reached the end of this voiceover, so as always you can download this build via the gallery. My origin ID is JessicapieYT, or you could just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, if you do like my content then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedbuilding video. Bye guys!